I never thought I was an emotional eater because like when I would have these like devastating or like really stressful events happen in my life, like I would be so nauseous and like I couldn't eat, right? Because I was so sick to my stomach. Like I had zero appetite. But like on the day-to-day stressors, eat. And I didn't even recognize that I was doing it. I was like eating to soothe. We go back, like way back, 21 years back. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Kelly. And we have been friends long enough to know that that kind of connection is rare.
We've recognized a pattern that we can come together feeling overwhelmed and jaded by life, but can walk away from our conversations feeling elevated and fulfilled. Our goal is to have our listeners share in that experience with each episode.
This podcast is our love letter to each other. It has been years in the making, and finally the stars have aligned, and we like to open up our conversations to you. We intend to build a community where no topic is off the table.
In a world where discomfort is actively avoided, therapy is not accessible to many, yet you should talk to a therapist, is a reflex response that denies connection. We have found that talking it out has been a form of free therapy in itself.
We dive into topics like death, divorce, disordered eating, debt, and every taboo topic in between, all while balancing the scales with our tongue-in-cheek humor.
With that, who's ready to get taboo? Hello.
Hi. Oh my gosh.
How you doing?
Oh, so good. It's launch day.
It's launch day.
Friggin' launch day.
We're published.
It came and went basically already.
It feels crazy. It was nuts because after we were done kind of getting everything launched and posted, we had certain times that we were working with because we needed certain birth charts for the pod. If you know, you know.
You know very well.
So anyway, once we got all that finished up, Kevin and Polly were like, do you want to go golfing? Like go to the range and like hit some balls and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that sounds fun. We went outside, all the things. I get there and I'm like, actually I can't be here. I have to leave because we're recording. I forgot. I was like, I literally have to leave in 30 minutes. I'll see you guys later.
Deuces.
So I literally went to the golf course, sat down and left.
Cute. I love that.
But anyway, it was fun.
Look at us though. We're like celebrating the launch day of our podcast by recording more.
I know.
Making more content.
How cute. How
I think
full
it's
circle.
like passion project things, right?
Yeah,
it's just so fun.
We can't stop.
Yeah, I'm really proud of us.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of all the parts of it.
Also, like by the time this airs, we'll be like far past launch day. Yeah. But for now, launch day's here now for us today. And it's really exciting. It's been really magical and I mean, kind of unbelievable, the feedback that we've been getting.
Yeah.
From our friends and family and stuff.
I almost am like a little bit.
And even beyond friends.
I think it's the random people who have reached out to me who maybe we haven't spoken in a few years or in a longer period of time. And this is the reason that you're reaching out to me is to like support my art, which doesn't sound that profound. That's what I want to do for people. They start a artistic project or a passion or a new career and you want to like gas them up and support them. But I've never done something like this before. So to be on the other side of it and to have so many people giving me any amount of their time, whether it be just congratulating me, listening to the podcast, streaming it. I've had people leave reviews. That's cool. Crazy.
I basically held a gun to Polly and Kevin's head to leave a review. So the fact that people are doing it for you willingly is pretty.
It says nothing about my character. I just love artistic people. So if it felt like I was gassing myself up, that was not the intent.
Yeah, straight up. Kevin's like on his phone. I'm like, have you left a review? And he's like,
I surrender. I do.
Like, sorry. Yes.
Sorry.
Of course.
You guys are great. Congrats.
Yeah. 5 stars. Anyway, on that note, go leave us 5 stars, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Just
whether you like us or not. Please,
just do it.
Please.
There's no reason to not.
Shameless
plug.
Yeah.
Here it is. Plug. Leave a 5-star review.
Please.
Yeah. The end.
Okay. On that note, should we get taboo?
Yeah, let's get taboo.
Okay. So today we want to get into like all things body.
Yeah. Having a body is superhuman. It's one of the most human experiences you can have. Quite literally. You know? I don't know how else you could get more human.
I would go so far as to say it's what makes you human.
That tracks. Tracks. Yeah.
Profound. I think we should leave it there.
Yeah. That's the episode. See you next week.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Profound thoughts.
I think it's hard to just encapsulate simply what body image, having like the experience of, you know, being at this point in my life and my relationship with my body is just so whack for me.
Well, what is hard is that it's your like business card, right?
Yeah.
It's your like identity in the world.
It's how you physically present all of the parts of you that make you you.
Yeah. So to like be able to express all the things on the inside, on the outside, I think when those things feel disconnected is when like I start to feel really insecure or
it's turmoil.
Yeah.
Absolute turmoil. And I also just had this thought while you were saying that my deepest, like one of my deepest, darkest fears or like shadowy parts of me is I can't stand feeling misunderstood. And so I think I get really angry when my body is not presenting itself in like, or like, it's not a presentation of who I am or with
the way you feel.
It's not accurate to who I feel like I am in my brain and my heart and just like my personality. Like all those things and this thing are not adding up and it's leaving the door open for me to be misunderstood. And I can't.
Go off.
You know?
I could not relate more. This whole last year is a huge part of what I've been going to therapy about is I feel like I've had this identity crisis this last year.
Oh, yeah.
Like full-blown identity crisis.
Yeah.
Where a huge piece of it is like, I don't know how to get dressed. Like,
ooh, yeah, which is one of your most simple tasks.
So simple,
right?
but it is so profound.
It's so profound.
Like, unless I'm going to work, so at work I'm wearing scrubs. To the gym, I know what to wear at the gym.
Yeah.
When I'm coming over here, it doesn't fucking matter.
No.
When I have to go out in public and try to like put something together that I feel like myself in.
Yeah.
That is where I've struggled so much this year.
Yeah.
Because like my body has changed so much this year because of a lot of reasons. And we can get into that. Actually, I really do want to get into those things, but
permission granted. You can go there.
Oh, thanks so much.
Keep talking. You got it.
But it's like when you're trying to get dressed and it's like, to be able to express yourself, that's what we're talking about, right? But like when you don't feel like the clothes you want to wear look the way you want them to look on your body, you feel like now you can't express yourself. It's like someone is like shutting you up.
It's a constant feeling. I was journaling about this the other day. It's fucking rude that I have to feel constantly betrayed by my body because it is not accurately representing this person that I have worked so fucking hard to be. I have relentlessly been trying to work on myself and better myself. And it's like all the parts, like there's always room for growth. I'm not a perfect person by any means, but I want my body to show it as much as my character shows it that I've come this far. And so to feel stuck in a place that I don't identify with physically is, I don't want to show how infuriating it is, but it's infuriating for me. I'm just so angry, but it's like, I also know you can't hold that much anger towards your body because like, she's the only one you got, you know?
You have like so many thoughts, like just like
is it too many things?
No.
Oh.
You're invoking so many thoughts in me is what I should say.
What a compliment.
So, yeah. So first thing, something I heard is like, well, I think it's kind of been circulating a lot, but like that you can't heal a body that you hate.
Yeah, man.
And I think that is so profound. But to touch on the part where you feel like so betrayed by your body, it makes me think of the conversation we were having last week about how you said that you feel like my body is giving me so much feedback all the time.
Your body talks to you and tells you what the fuck is wrong all the time. That's dope.
Yeah, but I think it's a learned language.
Right.
So
that's real.
I think it's not that your body's not communicating with you. It's that you guys haven't learned each other's language. Like your conscious brain has not learned the language of your body yet.
I never even learned, and it has nothing to do with who raised me or how I was raised. For some reason, there's something missing in the old noodle that I never learned to check in with myself. I'm incredibly uncomfortable checking in with myself, both mentally, emotionally. No, emotionally, I'm actually pretty okay with it, but, and physically. And now I have I almost feel like I've let it go too long. And I'm like, all right, I'm 29 years old and I still haven't just checked in on what's changed with my body or how my body's feeling. And it's just so many like walls up around that. Like I feel how uncomfortable I am going there with myself. I think there's a lot of wounds. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, where I think I've taken so much like the inspiration is there for how you are with your body. It's just, again, fear. It always comes back down to fear with me. I'm a big old baby, but you're so good about like, something's wrong. Let's get to the root of it. Even if it's fucking hard, even if it's hard, even if you know it means that you could have some sort of like dysfunction with your health or dysfunction with your body, at least you fucking know. I'm angry that I feel like I choose ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Like, why don't I just check in with myself?
Do you feel like you're afraid of what you might discover, or is that not necessarily what it is?
I think that was it for a long time. And then I got to this place where like I tried everything. I didn't try anything, but it's more, I just feel like such a failure. I can't stick to a diet. I can't get myself to the gym. And like, this isn't even negative self-talk. Like, I'm not doing that. I have no interest in shitting on myself. It's just factual.
I see what you're saying.
I have a hard time. I haven't seen results fast enough because I'm wildly impatient. So I am just mad. I'm just so mad with my body. And so it's just like, I'm going to put a nice little angry black bow on it and just not deal with it.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Where I think you're a little bit better, a lot of bit better about, constantly checking with your body. What's going on? Like, I feel like you're always just fine tuning and like this, I am feeling inflamed. I'm feeling like I'm retaining water. And it's just, you're so aware because I think you know when your body is sending you a message.
Yeah, I will say it. Okay, so a few things. That
was a tangent.
No,
My bad.
you're fine. I wouldn't say that I'm like better or worse. I think I've just had maybe like a different approach. But what I will say is that for a long time, I was in the same place where you are of like the feeling like my body and I are working against each other.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So, and that in itself is so frustrating to feel like you're on like opposing teams. Like you want this thing and your body's not going to give it to you.
Yeah,
right?
It's rude. It's rude. Get with the program, lady.
And so, but like, I get like what that feels like because I spent a lot of years in that place.
Yeah.
And then it was when I then had this kind of like flipped mindset of, okay, well, like instead of spending thousands, and I mean thousands, truly thousands on skincare, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on to my skin, why I have cystic acne, all these things.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, and at that time, I didn't know enough about like the functional medicine space or holistic medicine. So I think it was actually really good that I was choosing to spend my money on products because had I gone to the doctor, I probably would have gone on Accutane or something like that, which
I've only heard terrible things. It works.
Yeah.
But I've heard terrible. The butt is so big there.
Huge butt. And
Huge
it's
butt.
not to shame anybody that has gone on Accutane.
No.
I know what that place feels like. And had I had the means or the resources to go on it at the time that I would have gone on it, I would have done it.
Yeah, I think it's hard to speak on it. Like you can speak to it because you've suffered with acne, but I don't think I've never like encountered someone that's judgmental about it. It's just, I can't believe that people that struggle with acne have to take a medicine with such extreme cautions.
That's the thing. Like you don't have to do that.
Right.
But I think that's like what Western medicine like tells you that this is your option. You're going to have acne for the rest of your life. And so if you want to do anything about it, here's Accutane.
Right.
And you can't get pregnant and you have all these other side effects. And I was just listening to something today. Actually, there's studies coming out about how Accutane is affecting even after you've been off of it. There is still lingering effects that are affecting firstborn children of the person who was on it.
I already have a victim mentality about being the firstborn. Don't tell me those things.
Right. So all that to say, I don't know what it was at whatever point I started to think about like, well, what internally is going on that's causing this?
I I love introspection. It's so hot.
Yeah, because I'm like, there's obviously something wrong. Like, this is my skin communicating with me.
Right.
That was a huge flip, is like, okay, I could be mad that I have acne, or I can be grateful that my body's telling me that something's wrong, because if I didn't have this red flag, I wouldn't probably pay attention.
It's giving evolved. I think that's an evolved way of thinking. You know, like rising above anger. Like, obviously there was a point where you were angry, but I think anger, like I think I'm echoing what you're saying, that anger can only get you so far.
Yeah. Right? At a certain point you have to get past being pissed, but I think it's a necessary,
it's a part of the process.
Yeah. You have to feel that emotion.
Yeah. I love anger, so I'm always down for that.
Yeah. So once I was able to kind of like move past that and do that introspection, then I started actually putting my money not into all these topical products that are making everything worse, but into a like functional medicine doctor who can help me do like hormone panels that I can't get from my regular doctor that my insurance covers.
Right.
So, you know, I'm grateful that at the time I didn't have insurance or resources to like just quell the symptom. You know, because the symptom has so much to say. Right. And if I didn't, like I said, if I didn't have acne, I wouldn't have paid attention. And it is a problem that maybe would have gone on for years and years and years, that maybe would have affected fertility at a point where I'm wanting to have a family, or maybe come up in a cancer later on, like down the road. Right. Like, it was because it was like this blaring red flag in front of my face. And I'm like, okay,
do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think that that we should do as much like preventative stuff when it comes to like the health things, instead of just like waiting for like everything to just
explode in your face, and then you only care for the symptom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
symptom treatment's a slippery slope.
Another way that I've been thinking about it, like in this last year, is like, okay, I'm uncomfortable like in my body. I'm uncomfortable with how my clothes fit and XYZ. I could, because like part of me was like, okay, I want to get new clothes then that fit better.
Yeah.
Or I want to like fix it in this way.
We should talk about what those fix-its were.
Yeah.
Because I think, in terms of like your fix-its or your quick fixes, I'm assuming, in your experience, what do you feel like those were? Do you feel like those were diets? Do you feel like those were fat? Like, I want to word this really carefully, because I always come across too bitey or like maybe even judgmental when I say this, and I don't mean it at all, but I just am hyper aware of I like patterns. I really enjoy patterns, and I love looking big picture at trends, right? I think
you have such an eye for it.
Oh my God. I'm just so fascinated by trends, and I get so frustrated when people don't recognize patterns that are blaring in our faces. And I think it's a huge part of why I struggle with health and body image so much is, I'm sorry, diet is a fucking trend, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, because, you know, you think about like my favorite example is, you know, in the 80s, right? It was like fat-free. Everything needs to be fat-free. Drink skim milk, dip fat for like all of those things. And now we're in 2024 and it's like, no, people eat fat, and we're realizing that fat isn't awful for you, and like natural,
it's
healthy
actually really
fat,
essential.
It's very essential
for
to
like your brain.
Correct. So, you know, it's things like that. Or even I know people that have done the paleo diet, and, you know, I was like, well, that seems to check out. So like in my very disordered eating cycles that I go through, I'll be like, yeah, meat and vegetables, and that's it. But, you know, then it's like, sometimes grains are terrible. Sometimes grains are great. And I just, for me, I am so genuinely fed up with the dieting and being told from so many different people what's good or what's bad, because it's all about where you consume. In my opinion, it's where you like, where are your sources? How are you consuming media? You're following people that interest you, that you like and appreciate, but does that mean it's factual? What the fuck is the key to diet? What is it? Because, you know, then there's that, like, not to get on a tangent here, but like, don't even get me started on, like, we've talked about how like, I love a sweet treat. I do. I love dessert, but there's like, I feel like there's a divide where it's like, there's the people that are like, we've talked about how scary restriction can be. That's a whole other tangent I could go on in itself. So there's like restricting just leads to binging. I do think that's true. I absolutely, in my experience, that's what happens with me. But at the same time, what is the balance there? Like, I think it's really hard to not then justify it by saying, well, if I'm not having the dessert I want every single day, I'm restricting, and that's dangerous. Like, it's so different. Each person I ask, like, oh, well, how would you eat? Or like, I hear about a new diet and I'm like, what the fuck is the answer? I'm on a tangent. I need to stop.
Yeah,
it's just.
No, you're not. I think everything that you said is really important. So like, for instance, when I was saying that I was looking for these quick fixes.
Oh yeah. Back to that. Sorry.
No,
Jesus.
Don't be sorry at all. The thing that I kind of got back to was like, okay, something internally is out of whack. So I need to actually just focus on what that internal piece is before I look to these other quick fixes.
Yeah.
Right. To touch on the diet part of it, and honestly, the diet and the skincare part of it, it was actually just simplifying. And it was like,
I love that.
I'm like, I had to get away from listening to all this fucking noise, right?
It's so loud.
Because it's loud and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So I had to get away from the 10-step skincare routine and doing all these like acid peels all the time and this toner and that moisturizer and this blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That was making my skin 10 times worse. In fact, I did when I, like a couple years ago when I was doing 75 hard, my like hard thing that I was doing was I didn't wear makeup or put any product on my skin for 75 days.
And how are the results?
Amazing.
Oh.
I mean, part of it was I was simultaneously healing some gut dysbiosis that I was having going on.
Right.
But the part of my acne that was exacerbated by these products, that cleared. And then as I started to heal my gut, then the cystic acne cleared.
Right.
So I had two different kind of acnes going on at the same time.
Yeah.
But as far as the food goes and what I've learned, honestly, since I was healing my gut is that it really is simple. It's so simple. And sometimes like, I think we hear so much this diet, or you should be eating this way. I think it's so easy to get confused by all the opinions and all the noise. And this person swears by this and this person says, no, that's wrong and that's going to kill you or whatever it is.
And everything gives you cancer.
The thing that I've come back to and the thing that kind of is always like true at the core of everything is just eat food in its original form. Just eat like what grows and what we're meant to eat and try to avoid like a bunch of processed and packaged shit.
Right.
And then also if you can get things that are like not sprayed in pesticides, that's a plus.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it really is just like simple.
Yeah.
It's not so complicated. And I think when you're looking to a diet or a lifestyle thing, we want this like crazy thing to be the magic answer.
Right.
When actually it's just as simple as like cut the shit and stay consistent.
Yeah.
It's really what it comes down to. And then the body image stuff kind of, for me, what I found is it comes back to the internal health stuff. Because that
you
drives
mean like gut health and all that?
Yes. And also like stress and like nervous system stuff. Because, okay, like I'll say like 2 years ago, I felt like I was finally in a really good place where I felt like really in harmony with my body. And I felt really good in my body.
Yeah.
And that was really the first time where it kind of happened like without me trying.
Right.
Without me doing a quick fix or without me like working really hard for it. It was just like, I was just living and just trying to make like good choices.
Yeah.
Not trying. I just was making choices that felt good.
Right.
That was the other thing.
Right.
And then life changed and I started like kind of just, I mean, part of it was I did not have enough time in the day to sleep.
Right.
Right. There was not enough time in the day to sleep. I was getting consistently for about 4 months, 4 to 6 hours of sleep at night.
Yeah.
And
for a good reason.
I was stressed out of my mind, but it was like, it was the season of life that I was in.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was a short season.
Right.
That being said, then I started having like a really hard time emotionally regulating myself and my feelings, and everything made me cry. I was constantly like feeling like a toddler and having tantrums.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
Love that.
And then I was looking to like sweet things to kind of give me that dopamine hit, give me the energy, get me through whatever it was. And that combination of things, stress and lack of sleep, and then an increase in sugar. And it was and increased stress on top of that without being able to exercise. And not even like going to the gym. I didn't even have time to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Like it truly, like, I mean, I could take my dog for 20 minutes here or there, but like I couldn't go on like a long walk.
Right.
That combination was the perfect recipe to completely like dysregulate my system.
Right.
You know, and I put on like 15 pounds in a very short amount of time, which, okay, I'm not like heavy or like an overweight person by a lot of standards, but for like what I feel comfortable in and what feels good in my body and how I feel like my character and like spirit is represented, you know, on the outside, like we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not in this current body.
I think it's like appropriate to say it's not even about the number and the amount you put on.
Yeah.
It's like gaining weight in a way that no longer makes you feel comfortable in your body.
Yeah. And that wasn't like in a like a happier, healthy way.
Right.
It wasn't like I was building muscle
Right.
or like something that I was like seeking to do. It was like my life was in a very challenging place. And that's the thing, like what we're talking about is like your body reflects who you are and what you're going through.
I think I will say that it's really for me and my mental health though. And just like, I do think in a lot of ways we're really different. Like I have this huge mental block. You were talking about, you were making good choices. It's not that I don't have the ability to make good choices. It's that I, like I said earlier, just like can't really, prioritize myself like that. There's a lot of like internal, not gut health and hormone, nothing like that. There's a lot of like, I guess, emotional healing I still have to do that I'm hoping one day I can get to this point where like I want to do those things. But like for me, it's so hard. I feel so isolated in the fact that I fucking love sugar.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like shit when I eat sugar. I don't. I think that obviously there's effects that sugar have on the body. I'm not denying that at all that are negative, but I just have always felt so alone. And like, I feel like you're supposed to like dessert. I feel like you're supposed to like these sweet treats. And I feel so much shame in like being that way at this age. Like at what point am I going to grow up and want to just be healthy? Like, I feel like that is a part of growing up where it's like, you no longer have that young person mindset of, you know, like, oh, I'm going to eat whatever I want. Who cares? I got the metabolism to do it. I still have that. Not that I can eat whatever I want. There's no consequences. It's just, I want to hit that point because I think it's so important of like not being fed up with yourself, but just being like, I want to feel better. And what do I do to do that?
So I'm curious. So you said that you don't feel like shit when you eat sugar.
Yeah, no, not really.
So what does like
Make me feel like shit?
Yeah.
Not drinking water is a big one.
Yeah.
That one, I think that lack of hydration is something that's something my body's really good at telling me about. Okay. And there's astrology in this, but it's like my kidneys will literally like talk to me the minute I don't have enough water. Like that one, not drinking water, absolutely. Not eating. I don't do well without food in my belly. Like, and those are really basic things. Like, I'm not saying anything profound right now, but like, I just feel like I'll hear people talk about eating sugar or like junk food and they're like, I feel like fucking shit. I must have an addiction so deep that it gives me such a dopamine rush that like whatever physically it's doing to harm me, I don't feel it. Like I don't eat dessert and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so terrible.
No. And I hear what you're saying. I don't feel like terrible in the moment when I'm eating it. It's when I'm like consistently like every day I'm having like, you know, a sweetener in my coffee, and then I'm having like the free cookies at work, and then I'm also having, this. It's like that constant inundation over like a week-long period where I'm like, oof, I feel sluggish. I feel inflamed. I'm breaking out. It's not like in the moment. But sometimes like if something is like way too sugary and I'm not processing it well, I can feel my blood sugar spike and I feel anxious. And then I feel it later. I feel it drop. And then it's like a different kind of anxiety.
Totally.
But it's like, I feel those things in my body, but it's like a learned thing over time. Right. But it's not that I still don't enjoy like having dessert. And I don't think there's anything wrong with loving dessert or loving a sweet treat. That is our brains are literally wired to love sugar.
Yeah.
It's a survival thing because it when we were evolving, that was a rare thing and it was only for a certain season and we were meant to fucking pig out on it to prepare for the coming months.
Right. And now it's so accessible all the time.
So your brain is literally wired to love it. So there's nothing wrong with loving it. Like there's nothing wrong with you. I would say if you noticed like these symptoms of feeling like brain fog and feeling tired and feeling these things that are like not desirable feelings, feeling anxious, feeling depressed, like all these things, then maybe look to what you're putting in your body or or what is in your environment. But I don't think that if something doesn't feel bad, that it is bad. Like that's the main point of what I'm trying to get at is what I've learned is like, it's listening to all the outside noise of what you should or shouldn't, because that creates shame around whatever it is that you're
I agree
talking
with that.
about.
Yeah.
So something is creating shame for you that you feel like sugar is bad when it's not a bad thing if you're not having it in out of control ways and it doesn't make you feel like shit.
Right.
And it's not ruining your life in some way.
Right.
It's like something else that is making you like telling you should feel bad for this.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, for me, it's like, not to be cliche. I just feel like there is, well, no, I won't say that. I think that the noise is very, very noisy. And I think that I'm a very easily influenced person. And so I think when it's something like I'm scrolling on TikTok and it's like, all of these very like influencers, fitness girlies, whoever, who are like, yeah, sugar's fucking trash for you. And like, oh my God, I cut out sugar and my whole life changed. And I'm like, this doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel real. There's no way that like you're just so much better off without sugar, or that you don't love a sweet treat. Like, I just wish there was more authentic conversations around the consumption of sugar. I think there's a lot of shame around it, but like we all consume it, right? And I think that it is such a huge part of diet and like the downfall of diet. But I think it's just, it's like, I think there's so much shame around it, which is confusing when it's like given to us. Yeah.
I will say, I have had those experiences though when I have like cut out sugar. So but I also think that's because of the way my body, my individual body is able to process and metabolize it.
Right.
So that is not to say that should or is anyone else's experience.
Well, yeah,
so
totally.
like I think if you don't have those experiences, your body is obviously processing it different than someone else who does. So I think that's like when you're like getting fed these things on whatever social platform, it's really important to like, okay, take it in, but like compare it against your experience and then decide whether or not it's true for you. Right. And not necessarily be like, well, fuck them because like that's not my experience. It's like, okay, that's theirs and that doesn't need to be mine.
Well, and I think like to cap that off though, that's why diet culture is scary because I think all of us, myself especially, were fed all of these different opinions or experiences with diet and take them as fact without remembering that like bodies all are like, basically function in the same way, but they're all so individual. Everyone's like, I mean, there's so many like genetic and like environmental things that affect how your body functions. And so I think it's just like not letting that shame outweigh the facts. And the facts are like, everyone's body does function so differently. Yeah.
That like bioindividuality is so thing. Real. That is, I mean, I was listening to this functional medicine doctor, Josh Axe, and he was talking about how he like, there's all these like traditional Chinese medicine principles, right? And like for someone with like low functioning thyroid, these are the things that we would do for them. Someone with this, whatever we do for this. But that's not every person with low functioning thyroid goes on this diet. It's like,
Right.
it very much is, okay, we look at your lab work and like, okay, these things a lot of the time are helpful for people with this. So we'll do that, but like, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
So, and like, not everyone can handle like he used this example of like, okay, if like, you know, I have a cancer patient, we're probably going to do a lot of like the juices and the like things like that, like fruits and juices and like celery, or I don't know, whatever he was saying. But then like that would absolutely be completely damaging for someone with like SIBO.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so I think people have a problem or have something that is out of balance in their system. They find a solution for it or something that worked for that imbalance. And then where the problem is them saying, everybody needs to do this because this is what worked for me. It's going to work for you, and make a blanket statement.
And then they do it. They'll see someone. Like, I feel like we see people on the internet or wherever, like, here's how I lost X amount of weight. And in some form or another, people carry so much shame around their body image, no matter how they look. Everyone struggles with it, that they're like, oh, well, it worked for her, it's going to work for me. And it's like that piece, at least for me, like checking myself of like, but I'm not her. I don't have her medical history. I don't have her lifestyle.
Right. But when you are in a place where you haven't recognized that, and you see someone online who is fit, or someone you know in person, like you have a relative or a friend or whoever it is, and they seem to have it figured out. Yeah. Whatever that looks like.
It's so different.
You just want whatever the answer is.
Exactly.
You want the solution because you haven't figured it out. And obviously in your eyes, they have. Yeah. So you want like whatever answer they have.
And it's such a journey too. Like, at least for me, I think that impatience is such a huge part of it, is that I want it so bad, but I'm unwilling to put in the time it takes to get whatever this person has achieved. You know, like I see fitness people online all the time that are like, oh yeah, like, you know, beautiful physique, accomplished so much. And I expect that to happen, honestly, like within a week or two, like starting to see results. And it's like, that seems out of touch. They literally never said how long it took them to get there. Most people that I follow in that space, it's like to get that physique with that kind of like muscle definition, or I mean, that's the type of girls that I follow, is like people who lift weights and have like defined muscles and stuff, in a really feminine way, I think. And anyway, it's taken them years to get there. Yeah. Years of consistency. It's crazy.
So it's like, I have struggled in my life to have like consistency for an extended period of time, right? Like I can be very consistent for, you know, 8 months, let's say, and feel really good. Yeah. And then I've had just kind of like these patterns in life where it's like something in my like personal life completely falls apart, or whatever it is, and I will walk away from the consistency of things. And then I find myself having to get back into things and starting from zero again.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you think is your biggest deterrent when you are being really consistent? Like, what do you think ultimately, of all the things you just listed, is what deters you from that consistency the most?
I wouldn't say it's like a deterrent. It's something that like limits,
something out of your hands.
Yeah, something that's limiting. Like it's when I don't have enough time to sleep. So it's the choice between sleep or working out. Because to me,
sleep is so critical for you. Well, for everyone. Let's be
everyone.
real.
Like, and I'm not getting an excessive amount of sleep. Like to me, like minimum 7 to 9 hours. Like that's not crazy. That's just basic your needs to exist as a human and not completely fall apart.
Yeah.
I think people just get used to running off of less, and they don't recognize that their body needs more.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting. I don't know if you've encountered these people, but there's people that almost use it as like a humble brag moment, or like a moment to brag of like, oh, I'm running off of 3 hours of sleep, bro. And I'm like
that is not a brag.
As someone who has insomnia, like I'm concerned. Yeah. Do you need to talk about it? Because I absolutely agree with you that if there's anything that's going to put me in fucking shambles, in my worst mental health state, my most anxious state, whatever, honestly, when I don't get sleep, I start that's when I start doom thinking. Everything is worst case scenario. Everything I'm like, I need control because my body feels so like the amount of spiraling I do when I don't get enough sleep. I think first and foremost, like that is when I'm struggling, I have to check in with myself and be like,
did you sleep?
Did you sleep? And was it, and like, I'll sleep, but I think what fucks me up the most is interrupted sleep.
Yeah.
I don't sleep consistently well. I can fall asleep, no problem.
Yeah.
I fall asleep pretty regularly, but I think not getting like consistent deep sleep is life altering.
Yeah.
And it's not
really
something
hard
to brag about.
No.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
You know, it'll kill you.
Yep. Oh, 100%. So yeah, like not if I'm like having to make a call of sleeping. No, you're fine. Sleeping or like, for instance, I work 12-hour shifts. So if I'm getting off work late, or I have to stop at the store on the way home, and
I hate that so much.
So I'm like not even getting home till 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, and I have to be back at work at before 7 the next morning.
I'd be pissed.
That it leaves you like a window of 6 hours to sleep, and I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm not going to get up another hour earlier.
Yeah, no
to
way.
Like try to work out. I'll go walk on my lunch breaks, and I only work 3 days a week, so I will work out on a day when I don't have to be when I don't have such a quick turnaround of when I have to be back up. So times in my life where that has happened is like when I was in school and also having to work full time, and I just had like a very limited amount of time between like commuting and all my assignments that I had to get done and working. So, but at the same time, like my job itself was very active or whatever. So I was still moving, but it just wasn't like what I wanted. I wanted more.
So you would say that it's your consistency is key for you when you are getting adequate sleep.
Yeah.
That's your...
And like sleep plus like time for a work. Yeah. Like it has to be both. Like, is that making sense?
No, it does make sense. I just was curious,
But like sleep will always be the priority before, like getting to the gym.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that I would agree.
But you have to also make the time, because that's the other part of it. It's not that like in those times, like there just wasn't time. Like physically 24 hours in a day was not enough time for me to sleep, work, school, and work out. Yeah. Because it just wasn't. Yeah. But like now, like if it's the choice of staying up late to do whatever, be on my phone, read a book, talk, socialize, whatever, that's where it's like, okay, you're choosing now to do those things instead of sleeping. And then that in turn is like getting in the way of working out. Is that making sense?
No, it totally makes sense.
So that's where it's a choice, and that's where it's a making time issue, not enough time issue. Yeah.
I would say that's where I completely struggle.
I was going to ask you because you said it's hard for you to stay consistent. Like you've never really been able to get there.
Yeah. I was going to say, I truly just don't.
What are those barriers for you?
It's like, I don't have the ability to, I have to give up everything that brings me happiness to stay consistent. The most consistent I've ever been at the gym is 3 months. Mm-hmm. That's, like that is an accomplishment and something I'm proud of. And I'm not going to like shit on myself for that. Like that I have admittedly, like there have been times where I've been like, are you fucking kidding me? 3 months? Come on. But that is better than no months. And I think, and all it took was like, I was doing like a 75 hard situation with my mom and my sister, and, bless them. They're really, really good about calling out toxic behavior, like especially with body image, health and diet culture. Like they're really good about being like, like we hold each, like they're great about it.
That's so cool.
I think it was a reason I could stay consistent was that I had people that could check me when I started leaning into really scary toxic behaviors. But the problem with consistency at the gym is that if I did not go and not once compromise to do something fun, like if I ever did that, I knew I would never go back again. It takes one skip for me to be like, do I have to go? And I would explain that to my sister where she'd be like, Kelly, it's okay that you miss a day at the gym, or like, Kelly, rest. Because I don't prioritize rest. I never have my whole life. And she would say, this is not healthy. This should not be your relationship with the gym.
Yeah.
It should not be a thing where you carry shame or you beat yourself. Like, I had an injury. I like was lifting weights and I have bad knees, and my knee was really bothering me. And she was like, get your ass home.
Yeah.
Shout out to her for that. I love that.
Yeah.
But I was so upset and devastated because I knew that if I rested and I felt the luxury of not having to be at the gym for even 2 days, I would never go back again. And then I moved at the end of March. I got this apartment and I moved, and I took a week off because like I decided to move on a Monday, a Monday through Wednesday. Super great life choices. Awesome. Like it was, so I had to move after work. And didn't have time to go to the gym. And all it took was 3 days, and I never went back. I am actually technically closer to my gym now than when I lived at my last place. And I have no idea what happened. And it happens every time. Okay. Every time I try to go to the gym and I don't. And then with like dieting, whatever. Honestly, I don't diet. I do go through moments where I try to not make healthy choices. Like when I was working out that consistently, it was 75 hard, I would say. And I gave up sugar during the week. Yeah. So like Monday through Friday, I wouldn't have sugar. Okay. I didn't feel any better. I so bad want that profound moment, by the way. It's like an envy thing where I'm like, I want to have that, like, oh my God, I can't believe I ever lived that way. Like, I feel so good all the time. I didn't have it.
Well, I don't think it's one piece.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So sugar's not going to be a magic fix everything.
Totally. And I think that was like a little naive. But in doing it in combo with working out, drinking a gallon of water a day, cutting out alcohol, I feel like that's a lot of things. Yeah. And I do feel like what did make me feel better is like once I got to the gym, I do get the high after you finish a workout. Yeah. That's fucking great. But
that's why I like my workout in the morning.
Yeah, because then I think it's going to give you, that's like drinking a cup of coffee. I could see that, like it gives you that boost. Yeah. Is what I would imagine. Because I always felt like after I worked out in the evenings, I was like, damn, I like actually feel pretty good.
Working out in the evenings makes it really hard for me to sleep. And then that perpetuates like a whole nother issue.
Toxic cycle.
Well, not toxic, but like then I'm not sleeping well. Right. And then that's making me tired the next day. And then it makes me want to skip my workout. Yeah. But I'm curious, you said something about like, when you are going to the gym, it means you're giving up everything fun or enjoyable in your life. What do you mean?
Oh, I don't like working out.
Okay, but like, what are you giving up? I'm curious. That doesn't...
Things like, it's super important to me. I don't like to feel restricted, and I like to feel like I have free time. Yeah. It's super important to me to have time to do nothing. Yeah. Whether that be reading a book or what. And this is the other thing is like my sister loves working out. Yeah. She loves to move, similar to you. She loves to move. No, you love to move your body. It's important for you to move your body.
Yeah. Because of how I feel.
That's how she is. It's not about like a toxic that she's just like, in order for me to feel like myself and to feel balanced and ready for the day, or just like health, like just good about my health and my body, I need to move it in some way. She's not a gym. I mean, she goes to the gym, but she like boulders, she hikes, she does all that shit. And I only like to move my body if I'm playing a game. Like if I'm going to go play tennis, if I'm going to go like play pickleball, if I'm going to like play a sport because I love games. Yeah. Hell yeah, brother. But I don't like going to the gym.
So why don't you do more of like movement in games?
Oh, because, to get back to your question, because during the week, especially, like I have this thing where like, I love my job. Yeah. I have a very cushy, lovely job with wonderful people that are my family. But at the end of the day, it's still a job. And I think I'm kind of salty that I just want to be able to do whatever the fuck I want to do all the time. Yeah. A little bit unrealistic. And I recognize that. So by the time I'm off work, I'm like, hold on. I just worked for 8 hours, and now to, take care of myself, I have to get in. Like by the time I walk my dog, change my clothes, commute 20 minutes to the gym, it's already, 7:00,
Yeah.
6:30. By the time I'm done and I'm back, it's 8:39.
Yeah.
I'm trying as I get older to prioritize sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I have an hour to just be.
Right.
And that frustrates me.
No, I completely agree with you. That's
Yeah.
exactly why I don't work out at the end of my day. Because
Right.
to me, the end of my day is like that time to just exist and to relax.
I
and
need
like
that.
And I just want to like be on, like, I want to rot on my couch, or,
Same.
I want to go to bed early. I
Yeah.
want to make dinner, all these things. I don't want to now have to think about like, oh, well, I should move my body, or like whatever it is. Like
Hate
as soon as there's a should,
Yeah.
that's when it's like, you're
Agreed.
shaming yourself into something. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
But like we're talking, I feel so much, like my body actually starts to hurt when I haven't moved it. And like when I haven't worked out for like whatever X amount of time, it's like all my joints hurt. I start getting really tense in my shoulders. I start like my hamstrings get really tight. Like I like start to get aches in my legs. And I know it's like, oh, my muscles are getting like tight and like they're not being worked.
Right.
So anyway, I think it's, I don't know. I think it's like, I think it's hard to like feel like you're supposed to do something, right? But like when it's not actually something that you find enjoyable.
Yeah, correct.
So I think like if it's something you want to do for whatever reason, it's like, I think the hack is like finding how do you make it so it is enjoyable for you?
Right.
Because right now it clearly isn't. Like going and lifting weights is clearly like not something that is like enjoyable for you or that keeps you wanting to go back.
Yeah.
And that is a barrier to consistency.
Yeah.
If you want to be consistent, like this isn't something that you like, I'm not saying you should or should not do this. It's like, if there's part of you that wants that, like, how do you tweak that? Like, what are the adjustments or the modifications that you can make to like reach like goals that you have for yourself?
Yeah.
Like,
I think there's so many barriers I have around it because it's taken up, like I'm angry at how much the diet and fitness worlds have taken up space in my brain in like not great ways.
Not healthy ways, yeah.
Yeah, in like unhealthy ways that I'm like, I now just honestly reject them. And which isn't healthy.
I feel that,
Like that isn't like, because I agree with you that like you should equals shame, which shame's just going to get you fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And there is no shame in anything.
Yeah.
But I also think I am a very matter of fact person, which also ties into body image actually. I know I need to exercise to stay alive longer. That's just a fact. I agree with you that I need to tweak it, but it's like I when I say I should exercise, it's because I want to live a long life. And and it's just a fact that exercise is a way to do it. It's the way to do it besides eating really well. So I don't feel like, maybe it's coming out as shame. I don't feel shame. It's just like, okay, I should work out. How the fuck do I get myself there in a way that aligns with me? Yeah. I don't feel ashamed in that sense. I feel ashamed more about like how I look. Yeah, that's absolutely real. But it's, not to transition too hard, but when we're talking about like being factual or being hyper, like I'm so hyper aware that when it comes to body image, I know how I look. I don't have I have people very close to me that I love so much that struggle so hard with body dysmorphia. And it's honestly devastating. Yeah. I watch these incredible, unfortunately only women in my life are the ones that are open about it. I know men struggle with it too. Yeah. Talk to me, dudes. But, it just, God, it absolutely implodes on them. Like they implode on themselves and spiral, and it's debilitating. Yeah. And I feel so disconnected because, and maybe I'll sound like a I don't know. Maybe I do have it. But I feel like I'm hyper aware. Like you and I have talked about this. I'm hyper aware of how I look. I know how I fucking look. I know when my body has changed. I know when I've gained weight, when I've lost weight, when I like whatever. And so it's hard for me to find camaraderie or community in that, or like belonging when talking about body image, because I don't struggle with body dysmorphia. And I feel like that is more common than the hyper awareness I have.
I think I heard a psychologist talk about this, of how body dysmorphia is actually incredibly rare.
Oh.
And people like misunderstand what it is.
Got it.
That being said, I think, I don't think I have body dysmorphia. I think I just don't like how I look, because also like at this time,
right.
Because there have been seasons where I do really like how I look, when I feel really confident and I feel like what is on the outside is reflecting what is on the inside.
Do you remember those times really specifically? Like you can look back and be like, I know that era exactly. I know what I was.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you're always working towards getting back to those eras in your life?
Yeah, I struggle with, I don't like to use the language of like getting back to.
I love that.
Because I don't want to go back to an old version of myself.
Yeah, and living in the past is
right. So I struggle
so
when
awful.
people like, and I'm not saying I haven't done this, because I've totally done this, like where I've looked at like old pictures and been like, oh, I was like so this or so that, and I looked so much better than how I feel now. Right.
Yeah.
But I like who I am now better than who I was then, because I've learned so much and I've evolved and changed.
Yeah.
But it also took being that version of myself to get to this version now.
Right.
So my approach is like, okay, I have all these new tools and like things that I've picked up along the way, all these new
lived
things
experience.
I've learned. Yeah, crazy. And so it's like, okay, how can I apply all of those things to get to a place where I want to be? That's like a future self.
Right.
And a lot of that is like emotional regulation. Like it's times when I've been when I've been the most emotionally dysregulated is when I've like felt kind of the worst and honestly looked the worst.
Oh.
Is like how I have like experienced the pattern, I guess. And like, for instance, like when I've been really obsessive with like body things and like trying to force myself to do all these things that I don't find enjoyable or whatever, that's when I've really struggled with acne.
Oh, interesting.
Even though maybe, I was like maybe more fit at that time or like had a lower body fat at that time.
Right.
My acne was really bad. And then it's like, okay, then my acne got really clear, but then I'm carrying weight in areas that I've never carried it before. And it's like also stress related. So I've recognized so much of like my emotional stuff, like carrying that on the outside.
Yeah.
So tell me your question again. I kind of lost it.
Oh God, I hope I remember it now.
I wanted to circle it back.
I was asking you if you remember those times specifically.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you're trying to get back to do you hold those eras of your life where you felt you looked the best on a pedestal? Like, how is your relationship with those eras and seeing those like times? Cause like, you're not trying to get back to them. I just think that it's really, like, at least for me, like I see times, like I look back in times where I thought I looked my best, whatever that may be. But I don't know that I would trade that for how fucking far I've come and who I am now.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
No matter how much you may, dislike how you look now, or I may dislike how I look now. Like I never thought I would say this because I've been so fixated on hating how I look my whole life. But it's like, I almost feel like this is the first time in my life where I like who I am enough that I'm more fixated on that. Or like I wouldn't trade that. I wouldn't trade my mental health to look the way I did when I felt better in my body, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it makes me wonder though, because I've really worked hard to not look at those pictures of myself when I felt I looked better and been like, I want to get back to that. Like that seems scary to me to want to go back to those times. Or I don't want to let like my dislike for how I look now outweigh or like overshadow everything I've gone through and like overcome just to look different. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a really hard finding love for a different finding love for a body that you're not used to looking at, or that you're not, it looks different in the mirror. It's complicated.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's very complex because, like, for instance, some people, when they are in like a really dark place mentally, like they lose a ton of weight. So for them, like when they're in a better mental health state, that means putting on weight, right? So it's kind of like, for me, like at this point, looking back to maybe the more recent time that I'm kind of like, I talk about when I was like in a really good place. Like I had a really good relationship with food, and I had a really good relationship with movement. And it was very, I think I used the term like right choices, but that doesn't feel like the right even way to explain it. It was more of like, finally for the first time, I was able to recognize when I was hungry and when I wasn't, and not eating because I should be eating at this time, or not eating because everyone else is eating.
Like eating instinctively.
Yeah. Eating instinctively, eating intuitively. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. That was the word.
No, but it is. It's instinct. Yeah. It's like when I'm actually hungry, I'm going to eat.
Right.
And then, because for so long, either I would suppress my hunger cues or ignore my full cues.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, my system was like, what the fuck is going on?
Bitch, what are you
know what
doing?
I mean? So it's like, no wonder I couldn't shit, and no wonder I like couldn't button my pants, and like, you know what I mean? Like the more like food I'm shoving down my pipe, it's like when I'm not hungry, my system's like, we're overloaded. We can't even process what's already in here.
And and getting this life skill, I feel like for me is so important of like, babe, you are overeating. What's going on like in here? Yeah. You know, because there is such a deep connection to emotion and food.
Oh yeah. Like I remember this specific time I was on the phone with like the insurance, because I like was getting passed around like, oh, well, I need to like, you know, transfer you to this department, yada, yada. So I was on the phone with the insurance for like 2 hours dealing with this bullshit. And I get off the phone, and like without even consciously thinking about it, I hang up the phone, and I got up and I walked to the pantry, and I opened the pantry, and I was just like staring. And then I like stop, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what emotional eating is. Oh yeah. I never thought I was an emotional eater, because like when I would have these like devastating or like really stressful events happen in my life, like I would be so nauseous and like I couldn't eat, right? Because I was so sick to my stomach. Like I had zero appetite. But like on the day-to-day stressors, eat. And I didn't even recognize that I was doing it. I was like eating to soothe the stressful thing. And I didn't even know. Yeah. Because all I knew was like the big stressful ones.
Yeah. But it really is like crazy when you have those moments. They are so eye-opening of like, why am I reaching for food right now when I'm stressed out? Like, what is it? How does food comfort me? If anything, then like the reality is I will stress eat. And then not only am I still just as stressed, but now I'm bloated and I feel like shit. So like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Yeah. You know?
It's like a self-respect thing too. Yeah. At a certain point. Cause it's like, I feel like shit and I'm perpetuating it.
Yeah. I struggle with that a lot. Yeah. I do. I think it's really hard. Especially to be aware of it, like aware of like, do better, like treat yourself better. And I like continuing those habits, I think is really frustrating when you know better, you know, like why I am a full human with like a full conscience and like, I do have willpower. So like, why can't I act on it? And like,
no, I hear you,
you know, like, participate in that willpower that I'm supposed to have and use it so that I'm not overeating. My sleep eating, I've talked to you about this.
Yeah. I want to talk about our eating habits, but I think we should do a part 2.
Okay.
How do you feel about ending it here and then doing a part 2 and talking about like our actual eating habits? Yeah. Because I think that is also something that like, I want to talk about your night eating. I want to talk about like fasting, intermittent things, and like all those.
I think it's important that we talk about fashion standards.
Yeah. And I think there's a few other things that we can touch on as well.
Okay. Do you think we should just get to the rest of it in the next episode then?
Yeah. Okay, one last thing before you go. There is no us without you. Go like and subscribe our show on your favorite streaming service and go follow us on all socials at Let's Get Taboo. Chat with you next time.